Good afternoon. Police are on the hunt for a killer following a violent altercation in East York.
A 27-year-old man is dead, and police are appealing for information as they search for a suspect. CB24 Steve Ryan's been following the investigation and joins us live with more. And Steve, there's more than one crime scene.
Yeah, that's right, Nathan and Michelle. There are three crime scenes. You've got your primary crime scene here at the Gamble and Donlands. Just west of where I am right now, there's a secondary crime scene between Donlands and Todmorden. And then southwest of that location is a third scene. So what police tell us was an altercation happened last night at the primary crime scene here. Following the altercation, a man subsequently died as a result of his injuries. And it appears as though the suspect then fled in a vehicle and went westbound along Gamble, striking two other vehicles. Witnesses tell me that they saw a man run from that vehicle. And then third scene on Todmorden is where I'm told a weapon of some sort, an edged weapon of some sort, was located by police. So police are now actively looking for the suspect as he remains outstanding. Now, we did hear from Toronto Police earlier on, and we spoke to a neighbor as well. And here's more from both of them.
I can tell you that he was a hardworking young man. He was an auto mechanic by trade, and he was very much loved by his family and his nieces. At this point in time, we are in the early stages of this investigation. We're gathering evidence, we're canvassing the area, and we're speaking with witnesses. It's really important that anyone with information who may have seen or heard anything contact police.
It was about 9:45, and my son called me to his window, and he said that he heard a loud sound. We looked outside. We saw three cars. One was crashed into a tree, one was in the middle of the road, and then that red one looked like it had damage.
The vehicle that the suspect is believed to have been in has been impounded by a Toronto Police departmental tow truck. That'll be taken to a more secure location where the FIS or the forensic team will go through that, looking for any sort of evidence that will help them identify who this suspect is. And what they will be looking for most likely will be fingerprints inside that vehicle. Send it back to you guys.
CB24 Steve Ryan reporting live in East York. Thanks so much. In another case, shots were fired at a business in South Etobicoke early this morning. Police were called to the Lakeshore and Islington area around 3:30 a.m. A building in the area was struck by gunfire, but no injuries have been reported. Police say they attempted to stop a vehicle leaving the scene, but it managed to get away. However, that suspect vehicle later crashed into a fence near Eglinton and Royal York Road, roughly 10 kilometers from the shooting. Police say the suspects ran from that crash scene. Investigators have not provided suspect descriptions at this point. Police are searching for a driver following a hit and run in Mississauga. A woman was struck by a vehicle in the area of Derry Road and Huron-Ontario Street. This was around 6 a.m. She was taken to hospital with serious injuries. The vehicle involved left the scene. It's described as a white sedan with heavy damage to its right front corner. Peel police are asking anyone with information to come forward.
An elderly man is dead following a house fire in Hamilton. Emergency crews were called to a home on Fennell Avenue East near Mountain Brow Boulevard early this morning. A man in his 80s was pronounced dead at the scene, while a woman in her 80s has been taken to hospital in critical condition. The cause of the fire is still being investigated.
There are a number of streetcar delays following a derailment this morning. Streetcars on King, Dundas, Carlton, Spadina and Bathurst are backed up by about 15 minutes after a streetcar derailed at Leslie Barnes Car House. That's located at Leslie and Lakeshore. The cause of the derailment is under investigation.
Still to come, gas prices have risen once again amid the ongoing war in the Middle East. We'll have more on the conflict and the pain at the pumps a little later in the newscast. But first, the Ford government would unveil its latest budget today. Ontario Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy has stated Ontarians must plan for tougher times ahead amid the ongoing trade war with the U.S. and global conflicts which are straining the province's economy. Bethlenfalvy has already announced some new spending ahead of the budget, including an additional $325 million for primary care, as well as $1.4 billion to cover the province's share of the HST for some homebuyers. City Council's meeting for a second straight day with a number of items on the agenda.
They include things like the city's potential involvement in Supreme Court case about Ontario Place and police officers in subway stations. Our Janice Golding has been following the meeting, and she joins us live from inside Council chambers this hour. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, one of the motions on the table at today's City Council meeting will involve safety and order on the TTC. Councillor Brad Bradford will be proposing a three-pronged safety action plan, as he calls it. And the first part of his proposal would involve police patrols at all TTC stations. The mayoral hopeful says that should significantly deter violence and harassment before it starts. Bradford says the second portion of his motion would introduce standardized cleanliness protocols and improved lighting to send a message that disorder is not tolerated. Now, one of the more controversial portions of the motion involves the installation of platform edge safety doors along the transit system, something that would involve significant cost. In fact, a June 2025 report indicated the cost of retrofitting 70 subway stations could cost $4.1 billion if adopted system-wide.
I think we have to pick some priority stations and start there. I also reject the premise, from staff of the costing. I don't think they've taken the time to take a serious look, and there's lots of other technologies and systems that we can learn from. So let's make a commitment to investing in safety. Safety is not a nice to have, it's a must have. Let's make that commitment, and let's figure out something that works here in Toronto.
A pilot project at TMU Station, which would have seen the doors installed, was actually put on hold last year for more study. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. One city councillor wants Toronto to get into the grocery business. Ward 7 councillor Anthony Peruzza is tabling a motion to launch a pilot project that would establish not-for-profit grocery stores operated by the city. The goal is to improve affordability and access to food amid a dramatic increase in food bank usage.
The rising cost of living continues to place significant financial pressure on Toronto residents. Food is one of the largest household expenses, and we are seeing increased reliance on food banks across the city. Quite simply, life is getting more and more expensive. This is a bold step to help people access food at better prices and make everyday life a little easier.
Without access to affordable, nutritious food, our clients are forced to make choices. Do I pay rent this month, or do I buy food for my family? And their health continues to decline, and social and healthcare costs will rise. So we need to make investments like these. Many residents do rely on food banks and community food programs, but they were never meant to replace stable, affordable grocery access.
Councillor Peruzza says the city has several food deserts, which leave residents relying on smaller retailers where prices are often significantly higher. His motion calls for property taxes and development charges to be waived to reduce the operating costs of these proposed stores. Well, the boys of summer are back in town, preparing to step up to the plate for the 2026 season tomorrow night.
The team will be working out at Rogers Centre today with expectations sky high after last year's World Series appearance. CTV's Mike Walker joins us live with more on the upcoming Blue Jays season. Mike, can't wait.
Oh, we can't wait, and fans can't wait. We're excited given last year's World Series run. The players will be on the field later this afternoon for one more practice ahead of tomorrow's opener against the Athletics. And given how successful last season was, that unfortunately ended in heartbreaking Game 7 of the World Series against the Dodgers, the team and its fans say there's unfinished business, and they have high expectations for this milestone season.
3, 2, 1.
At City Hall this morning, the Blue Jays and Mayor Olivia Chow raised a flag to commemorate the team's 50th season and their 2025 American League Championship. The Jays ace, Kevin Gausman, will get the start in the opener in what is the final year of his contract. The Blue Jays added depth to their starting rotation, and that will be tested right away with Jose Barrios, rookie sensation Trey Yesavage, and Shane Bieber all on the injury list. The infield will also look different this season following the departure of Bo Bichette to the New York Mets. And one of those new additions is all-star third baseman Kazuma Okamoto from Japan, who the Jays signed as a free agent to a 4-year, $60 million contract. And on the eve of this first game of 162, many fans we're speaking with are expecting nothing less than a return to the postseason. Here's more.
I think that the Jays are going to win the World Series this year. They had a really good shot last year. They easily could have beat LA. I mean, it was so close. I mean, anything could have happened in that game. So I definitely think that they have a stronger team this year. And I think that with a little luck, they're going to win the World Series.
I saw the spring training, and the team is very solid. So I've got high expectation for them, yeah.
Oh, we're going to be the best. There's no doubt about it. Why is that? Because we got Guerrero. We're stacked. I think we got more leverage, some of the adjustments and stuff like that, so we should be okay.
Now, we'll be heading inside the Rogers Centre this afternoon. We'll have an opportunity to hear from tomorrow's starter, Kevin Gausman, as well as Vladdy Guerrero Jr. and manager John Schneider, who recently just signed a 2-year contract extension. Reporting live on Mike Walker, Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. We have more news in a moment, but first, a look at the forecast. There's a live shot of the city this afternoon. We are going to hit double-digit temperatures today. That's good, but clouds and possible rain. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison with a check on the current conditions. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. Yeah, we're just waiting for the rain at this point. It is coming, but the warmth is already here. It is 10 degrees at Pearson Airport, 13 degrees in Hamilton at this hour, 15 in Niagara Falls, and inching closer to that 20-degree mark in the Windsor area. Here's our current satellite and radar, though. It looks as though some showers are now beginning to enter the Greater Toronto area. We'll see periods of steadier rainfall as we progress through the afternoon. And there is, just recently added here, a severe thunderstorm watch in place for extreme southwestern portions of our province. Thunderstorms are less of a threat for us today. We don't really have the right dynamics at play, but these northerly winds are going to really kick in a little later on today. So while we are forecasting a daytime high of 12, overnight tonight, the temperature is going to plummet eventually to a low near about -7 degrees. That will be early tomorrow morning, but the overnight temperature -4, feeling more like -12. Tomorrow brings sun, but yes, it is going to be quite chilly. Lots to discuss in your weather forecast, but for now, Michelle, I'll send things over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Well, the wreckage of the Air Canada plane that collided with a fire truck Sunday has been removed from the runway at New York's LaGuardia Airport. Officials are now reviewing the condition of the runway to make sure it meets FAA regulations. A spokesperson for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey says they hope to have the runway reopened by tomorrow morning. 2 Air Canada Jazz pilots were killed in the crash, while roughly 40 other people were injured, including 4 who are still in hospital. The head of the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board says staffing levels are being examined as a possible factor in the crash.
During this shift, you pretty typically have 2 controllers. In this case, you have LaGuardia that has 900 flights per day, and one would think that between 10 o'clock and 6 o'clock it would be lower traffic, but in this case we saw that there was a pretty heavy workload for these 2 controllers, where you had an emergency going on, you had several flights that they had to attend to, so it was a high workload for them. In this investigation, we will look at controller staffing during that mid-shift. We will look at controller staffing entirely in this tower, but then across the national airspace.
Meanwhile, Air Canada's CEO is now apologizing for the way he expressed his condolences following the deadly crash. In a video message, Michael Rousseau provided an update on the crash in English, speaking just 2 words in French. He was criticized by politicians across the country, including the Prime Minister. Rousseau has also been summoned to appear before the House Official Languages Committee. This morning, he released a statement in English. It reads in part, "I want to reiterate my deepest condolences to the families of the Jazz captain and first officer who tragically lost their lives, and recognize the profound impact this accident has had on our employees and customers." Air Canada is cooperating fully with U.S. and Canadian authorities in the investigation. As President and Chief Executive Officer of Air Canada, it is my duty to support those affected by this tragedy. I am deeply saddened that my inability to speak French has diverted attention from the profound grief of the families and the great resilience of Air Canada's employees who have demonstrated outstanding professionalism despite the events of the past few days.
Canada has officially hit the NATO spending target of 2% of GDP, which was set in 2014. NATO Secretary General says 2025 was the first year all allies met the agreed-upon defense spending target.
For too long, European allies and Canada were over-reliant on US military might. We did not take enough responsibility for our own security. But there has been a real shift in mindset, a collective recognition of our changed security environment.
Canada spent more than $60 billion on defense in 2025, according to NATO's annual report. In 2024, the country was spending under 1.5% of GDP on defense, making it one of 11 member nations which did not meet NATO's spending obligations. U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly demanded NATO partners significantly boost defense spending. In June, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced allies had agreed to a new defense pledge, which would see them invest 5% of GDP by 2035.
And in Halifax this morning, the Prime Minister was asked how Canada was able to finally reach that 2% threshold.
It's the focus on the priority. We came into office, we ran for office recognizing the world had changed, recognizing the importance of securing Canada, defending Canada, fulfilling our commitments, starting with our commitments to the women and men of the Canadian Armed Forces, as I've been emphasizing. So we're great believers. I'm a great believer is you set your priorities, you focus on them, you follow through. I think the second thing that's changed, and we're just starting to see this begin, is this link between our investments in defense and how we're building out the strength of Canadian firms, the Canadian economy.
Carney also announced a new $3 billion defense spending package. Most of the money will be used in Nova Scotia, with some of it earmarked for New Brunswick. The PM also committed to $500 billion in defense spending over the next decade. In Ottawa, the Conservatives have issued a response to today's announcement that Canada has reached the 2% of GDP spending goal.
As we know that all this increased defense spending that he's bragging about today is actually an illusion. We know that through creative accounting that government spending in national defense has increased by over $10 billion. That hasn't actually resulted in increased capabilities for the Canadian Armed Forces. It has not actually increased our own security or made us safer here at home. We are still sitting with many fleets, whether it's in the Air Force, the Army, or the Navy, that are unserviceable. Only 50% of the Canadian Armed Forces equipment is deployable, and we know that that's impacting on our operational readiness.
The Conservatives add the government has still not replaced Canada's CF-18 fighter jets with new F-35 aircraft, and say the armed forces are still waiting for new submarines, new tanks, and other armored vehicles.
Meanwhile, Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister is pitching the idea of a defense bank to fellow G7 members in Paris. It would provide financing for defense firms struggling to access enough financial assets.
The capital available is going to depend on the number of countries that participate, and Canada is certainly advocating for more and more countries to come on board, and I will be presenting such an argument here at the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting.
The Defense Bank is part of an effort by the Canadian government to increase cooperation between NATO and other allies. So far, major European nations have not embraced the bank initiative.
The U.S. and Iran have issued conflicting statements on the efforts to end the war in the Middle East. This comes as Israel says it has killed a top Iranian naval commander overseeing the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. The death toll from the war in Iran has risen to more than 1,500. 13 U.S. military service members have also been killed. U.S. President Donald Trump has stated a deal to end the conflict is close. However, Iran says it has dismissed America's 15-point ceasefire plan. Iran has effectively closed the Strait of Hormuz, which normally sees a fifth of the world's oil and natural gas pass through.
Israel's defense minister says the country's military has killed the commander of Iran's Navy, as well as a number of other senior Navy officials. The defense minister says the commander was directly responsible for blocking the Strait of Hormuz.
The announcement comes as Iran continues to fire missiles into Israel. The remnants of a missile struck a neighborhood just outside Tel Aviv. There have been no reports of any injuries.
After a major drop on Wednesday, gas prices are up again in many parts of the country amid the ongoing war in the Middle East. In the GTA, the price at the pumps rose 8 cents overnight to just under $1.73 per liter. That follows a 13-cent drop yesterday. The CAA says Canadian gas prices averaged $1.70 per liter yesterday, and that's compared to $1.30 a month ago. And here's a look at gas prices across the country. British Columbia is still paying the most at $1.91 per liter on average. A recent price drop in the Northwest Territories means they now have the cheapest gas at just over $1.63 a liter. And CTV's Scott Hurst has been following this gas price roller coaster and joins us live now with more. Scott, many of us are still trying to get our heads around these fluctuations that are daily.
Nathan, good afternoon. A roller coaster ride really is one of the best ways to describe it. Up one day, down the next, as we saw just this week in the Greater Toronto area. Prices down yesterday, and that saw a lot of drivers quickly going to fill up their gas tanks, leading to some lines at stations across the GTA, to now prices up again today. And we've seen these wild swings due to the ongoing U.S.-Israeli war with Iran. But on average, despite the fluctuations up and down, prices are still up some 35 to 40 cents per liter over the past month, with the cost of crude oil per barrel up as much as 40% since the start of the year. And consumers have been feeling the impact when it comes to filling up their gas tanks. But also in other areas, we've seen the impact on prices when it comes to some grocery items, travel costs, and other consumer goods as well. And when it comes to small businesses, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business says these fuel prices and supply chains are causing hardship once again for so many small and medium-sized businesses across the country. And even if there is a quick resolution to the situation in the Middle East, it is unlikely these prices will come down anytime soon. Here's more from one economist describing what it will likely mean on prices due to the situation in the Middle East.
But I think we're going to see the elevated price for quite some time, even if excursion, war, whatever Trump wants to call it, were to end fairly soon. We've had a lot of damage to the infrastructure, and there's going to be a lot of time before we're going to have the refineries producing and then shipping for home use. So this is going to last, maybe not higher, but at least at these elevated levels for months, if not even for 6 months.
And so, Nathan, these high gas prices have at least one federal union calling on Ottawa to follow the advice of the world's energy watchdog, the International Energy Agency, to allow public servants to potentially work from home. That call coming from the Canadian Association of Public Employees, really to help ease the strain on the fluctuating gas prices and the impact that it is having on consumers.
And Scott, in the U.S., the U.S. Postal Service says they're going to implement an 8% fuel surcharge on certain deliveries. Could this happen in Canada?
Nathan, this 8% surcharge needs to go through regulatory approval first, but if it does come into effect, the increased cost for shipping could be implemented for consumers south of the border later in April. Now, when it comes to shipping costs here in Canada, fuel prices are also putting pressure on those costs. CTV News did get a statement from FedEx, and it says FedEx manages fluctuations in fuel prices through dynamic fuel surcharges, which is adjusted weekly in line with global fuel price movements. Canada Post as well on its website saying it is directly impacted by changes in fuel prices, and it too applies a fuel surcharge on parcel services, which are updated weekly, and they adjust the fuel surcharges up or down as fuel prices change. So much of what consumers need to buy when it comes to either sending a package, filling up the gas tank, or going to the grocery store, so much of it continues to be impacted by the war in Iran.
All right, CTV's Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
There was a new face at a Fredericton City Council meeting this week, though she's not old enough to vote.
A local councillor brought her 7-week-old daughter into council chambers in what was a historic first for the city. CTV's Laura Brown has the story.
7 weeks in the world, and baby Josie is already making a statement that parenthood and politics can, in fact, mix.
We have a very special guest with us this evening, and it marks a historic moment for Fredericton City Council.
Josie was the youngest attendee ever at Monday's regular council meeting in Fredericton. A balancing act, Councillor Cassandra LeBlanc admits, came with some very normal newborn anxieties.
Worrying about my baby having a blowout and where am I going to change them? If it's mid-council, I don't want to miss a vote.
Also, breastfeeding and what to do if she cried. Josie rose to the occasion, showing everyone she belongs. Mayor Kate Rogers says it's taken some time to get here, though. She's Fredericton's first female mayor.
And the conversation was, why aren't there more women at the table? And I would say, women don't want to be at that table because that table is not welcoming to us. I wanted to create a space where women knew that it was their place.
Very few sitting New Brunswick politicians have given birth while in office. 5 years ago, MLA Megan Mitten had to ask that the provincial legislature install change tables so she could bring her newborn to the House. At 27, LeBlanc was the youngest woman elected to council in 2021, knowing at some point she'd want to start a family.
But I think this is a great example of how the secondary plan is supposed to work. And I hope one day she looks back on that and is proud of her mom, and maybe it inspires her and other little girls to run for council or other offices.
A reminder that even the youngest constituents can make waves. And of course, the hope is for baby Josie to grow up in a world with more women and mothers around the political table. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
Well, if you're hoping to maybe take your baby out for a walk this afternoon, just be mindful of the fact that even though it is mild, we've got some rain moving in. But let's talk about those temperatures first. Forecast daytime high here in Toronto, 12 degrees. 7 is the seasonal average. We're not expected to break any temperature records today. The record to beat is about 20 degrees. Windsor, for example, may get to 20 this afternoon, already at 17. But look at what we are waking up to tomorrow morning. Temperatures near -6 degrees. Wind chills in the minus teens. At least it's going to be sunny. We'll talk about Friday and take you right through the weekend forecast coming up here on CTV News at noon.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
The Artist Project is taking over the Enercare Centre for the next 4 days with more than 300 independent creators from across the country. And this year, the theme is centered around sports. CTV's Jessica Smith joins us live with more on, I love this line, the art of the game. Jess.
Michelle, it is so cool. When you come down here, you are exposed to artists of every single variety and medium, and it really is so inspiring. And it is one of my favorite things to come to all the time. I want to start with Emily. When it comes to bringing all these artists together, what goes into that? Because there are over 300 people here, mostly Canadian, some international, but you have artists that are through every single medium here on display as we head throughout the next few days.
Yeah, so we receive hundreds of applications of artists who want to participate at the fair, and so we have a selection committee that goes through and reviews all those applications, but of course we're always looking for that diversity that you mentioned, so a diversity of backgrounds, of mediums, of perspectives, of subject matter, just to make sure that we're really representing the whole breadth and depth of artistic creation.
And there's a bit of a sports theme, the art of the game this year. And Brini, I want to bring you in. I'm a huge fan of your work. We've seen it before with the PWHL and the helmet behind us, but talk to me about the theme of the Pantone as well, because we see some heated rivalry content in there.
Ooh, so I make Pantone art, and I take 11,000 tiny pieces to make one large mural. And yes, I snuck in a couple of heated rivalry pieces.
And how important is representation when it comes to women in sports and girls in sports? Because I feel like you've got such a great connection to it.
It is the most important thing to me. So especially with the PWHL piece, this is called the Inaugural Six. I was commissioned to do this, and it now lives at the Hockey Hall of Fame, which as it should, but every single piece has a woman's name from the PWHL on it.
I just think that is so cool. And Ishid, I want to bring you in here because I was introduced to your work at Stacked Market, which is just in downtown Toronto at Lakeshore and Bathurst a few years ago. But talk to me about what it's like for you being here, because this is your first time.
This is my first time being here, and honestly, I'm thrilled. Like Emily was saying, there's a selection process, so being selected is a huge honor, and to be able to showcase a new line of thinking, a new body of work that people don't know me for is something that I'm thrilled to share.
it is pretty cool, and I feel like I have so many different things in here that I want to see. Emily, I'm going to bring you back in as we get ready to wrap things up here. For people that want to come down, what do they need to know? Because it's going on for the next couple of days. It begins tonight. What should we prepare for as we come in if we've never stepped into the art world before?
Prepare to have a lot of fun, engaging conversations with our artists. That's what they're here for. That's what they're craving. Say, hey, I see this in your work. Was that meant to be? Or ask them how they create their work or why they're an artist. They're here to have those conversations with you and to help you fall in love with artwork so you can take it home.
And I have a few pieces at home myself that belong to Nishid, and hopefully I can collect a few more as we head throughout the weekend. Again, it all begins tonight. It goes on for the next 4 days. Make sure you come on down and check it out and just take a look at the incredible work here. It will blow your mind. I'll send things back inside to the studio.
I'm so glad you can ask questions. I can never interpret these art pieces.
It's fascinating.
Are you good at that?
I don't know. I think it's whatever kind of floats your boat and whatever you're feeling when you look at the art. And I know today what we're feeling is double-digit temperatures, just as you predicted, Lindsay, and the rain that you also predicted is here now, too.
Yeah, it is. Clearly, it's on the way.
So we're feeling good about the temperatures. Unfortunately, this week we can't seem to have warmth and sunshine. We need to have warmth and rain or sunshine and cool conditions. So that's what you should plan for the next 48 hours here. The rain looks to be arriving in many areas as we speak, and it could be steady or heavy at times through this afternoon. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. We managed to escape the morning on a dry note. We even had a little bit of a nice sunrise there early on today. Bit of cloud already in the mix, but a nice little view of our city there. If you're out and about in Toronto for today, or really right across the GTA, you'll want to bring the umbrella with you for at least this afternoon. Things are going to taper off as we make our way through the evening hours, and by the overnight, we are done with this clipper system. But you'll notice that it's bringing some steady rain just to the south of Georgian Bay at this time. A little bit of mixed precip in some areas and some snow the closer you get to the border with Quebec. This is with us again for a good portion of the day. Thunderstorms are possible mainly for southwestern Ontario and also along the north shoreline of Lake Erie. If we get those storms, some of these rainfall totals will go up. But in and around Toronto, we're expecting roughly 5 millimeters, maybe closer to 10, depending on how it all plays out. So it's not a soaker, but it's just enough rain through the afternoon that you'll want to maybe bring the rain jacket or the umbrella with you. So here's about 1 p.m. today. Going to pause this again as we make our way into the evening drive. The dinner hour, we're still seeing some steady rainfall in places. By midnight, this is all moving out. Still some cloud cover. That too is going to clear as we make our way into tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon is beautiful and sunny. Just wait, though, till you see the temperatures we are expecting for your Friday. And then look at that. Some flurry activity heading into the day on Saturday. Some areas north of the GTA will also see a little bit of light snow into early Sunday morning. For us, Sunday, though, temperatures are going to rebound. I'll show you that momentarily. The heat is on once again in the central United States. Some parts of southern Ontario are feeling that. It's 16 degrees right now, for example, in Windsor. We are influenced somewhat by that warmth, but not as much as our friends stateside. Overnight tonight, the temperature falling to about -4 degrees. That's not even our low. The low is actually going to happen through tomorrow morning at about 8 a.m. It'll be -7 degrees, feeling into the minus teens. +2 is the expected high. And then tomorrow, of course, we've been talking about it. It is the season opener for the Blue Jays. First pitch temperature, -3 degrees, feeling like -9. I'm starting to crunch the numbers, and this is looking like pretty easily it's going to be one of the coldest home openers on record. It is a little early in the season. Typically, the home opener is in April. 7-day forecast shaping up to look like this. Saturday is still cool. Sunday, daytime high 10 degrees, and we have a couple of teen temperature days as we make our way through next week. So hopefully a little bit of a pattern change, at least when it comes to the temps. That's your look at the weather. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. The Blue Jays are set to open their season tomorrow, and there will be a number of new things for fans to check out at the ballpark this season.
CTV Sean Leithong recently got a sneak peek at what's on deck for fans.
From celebrating the Blue Jays' past, to the overwhelming demand for new merch, to the giveaways that connect fans with their team, this year the Rogers Centre is focused on history and hype.
What a better way to be able to celebrate that than during our 50th season.
Fans entering the stadium at the 100 level can now get up close to memorabilia from this team's rich history, like the glory years, including Joe Carter's gear from this.
Well hit down the left field line, way back
and the bat, known throughout baseball for this. Even right up to last season, with this display laying the groundwork for what will soon become a Hall of Excellence. Over at the Jays shop, they're getting jerseys ready for the opening day rush.
There's still a lot of demands, right? We're American League champs, and that's certainly something to celebrate.
American League Championship merch is moving and more, including this 50th season collaboration with Roots Canada showcasing the Jays in black and gold. There's also the stuff you get just for going to a game, with 90% of Jays home games including a giveaway. Everything from a SpongeBob jersey to the retro Domer hat.
Domer was the original Sky Dome mascot, and he's a turtle, he's adorable, his shell kind of represents the dome.
Also, a bobblehead of George Springer leaping after his home run in Game 7 of the American League Championship Series, and the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. born for this bobblehead, a nod to the now famous photo of a young Vladdy with his father while a member of the Montreal Expos. And then there's the food, each season bringing new menu items with a play on the traditional, like the Al Pastor dog with pulled pork and pineapple, or the unexpected, Uncrustables French toast.
French toast. At the ballpark. Not bad.
For stadium upgrades, the biggest is the Rogers Terrace located on the 200 level behind home plate for fans who want a more luxury experience, but
to get in here, this is a member-based club. It is sold out for the season.
With lots of room for about 1,000 fans, that is still close to the action.
And the reason why it's called the Rogers Terrace isn't just because of this large indoor area, but also you can step outside to an exclusive patio, but remember, it's members only.
With just days before the 2026 season, their home is ready to celebrate what has come before in anticipation of what's next. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
And a few days after marking the completion of upgrades at Toronto Stadium, the city's announcing a few upgrades of its own for the FIFA World Cup. Later this afternoon, officials will be providing an update on the mobility plan, that's what they're calling it, for the 6 matches of the world's most watched sporting event, set to be played in Toronto. The plan's expected to cover strategies for public transit, coordination with regional transit providers, and congestion management. The update scheduled for 1:15 at City Hall.
Still to come, struggling to get a doctor's note. Many Canadians without a family doctor are facing additional issues when it comes to missing work. Stay with us.
Many Canadians don't have access to a family doctor, which can complicate many issues.
That includes getting a doctor's note if you have to miss work for an extended period. CTV's Matt Grillo reports.
At 77 years old, Brian Williams is still working. In January, he hurt his shoulder while on the job and was ordered to be off work for 6 weeks. He started physio and was recovering, but before he could return to work, his boss needed a doctor's note.
Knowing he was off for about 6 weeks, knowing that he would have to have a doctor's note, it's like start now and hopefully within 2 or 3 weeks you'd get an appointment.
Brian and his wife Karen started looking for a doctor's appointment in early February. Both don't have a family doctor.
Since about the first week of February, we have called constantly every second day trying to get an appointment someplace. When you call, there's nothing available. Not even within 70 kilometers of our house.
The couple kept on trying. They went on Click Santé and repeatedly called 811.
One day we sat 24 hours and just kept with 2 telephones, a cell phone and a house phone, redialing. Then when we finally got through, they said, well, we'll call you within 72 hours.
I can't understand that they always say there's nothing available. There's nothing available. There's got to be something somewhere.
Earlier this week, an appointment opened up, and Brian got a doctor's note saying he could return to work after nearly 2 months of waiting.
On the other hand, they're wondering why the ERs are so overloaded. You have no choice. If you can't get an appointment there, what do you do?
So much frustration and stress. Brian says he just wants to put it behind him and get back to work. Matt Grillo, CTV News.
Still to come, a jury in California has found Meta and YouTube guilty of negligence when it comes to how their platforms affect kids. The details when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A jury in California has found Meta and YouTube guilty of negligence. The case aimed to hold the platforms accountable for harms to children who use them. The plaintiff is a 20-year-old woman who claimed using social media as a child made her addicted to the technology and worsened her mental health struggles. Jurors deliberated for 40 hours before delivering the verdict and awarding her $3 million in damages.
It's almost like social media's big tobacco moment that's happening right now, because the headlines around the world are about the lawsuit and the damages, but it's more so about the implications moving forward. Are we now at a place where a jury has found the social media companies liable, and are we now at a place where many of these lawsuits are starting to unfold and start to see that social media companies are starting to be held accountable, and it's not just being lost in a legal system that has often favored the tech companies?
This is the second verdict to go against Meta this week. A jury in New Mexico previously ruled the company's actions have harmed children's mental health, violating state law.
Bill Maher set to receive the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor from the Kennedy Center. The news comes days after the White House press secretary denied the report. Maher has a long history of both praising and criticizing U.S. President Donald Trump. The vice president of the Kennedy Center says that while the comedian is known for politically incorrect jokes, he has been influencing American discourse since before the Mark Twain Prize was established.
Stephen Colbert is revealing what he plans to do after his late-night show comes to an end on CBS this spring. He's set to co-write a new Lord of the Rings movie.
I did not think I would have the time. As much as I love it, I knew I couldn't do that and do the show at the same time. But it turns out I'm going to be free starting this summer.
Well, isn't that fortunate?
The TV host sharing the news in a video with director Peter Jackson. Jackson is producing the new film, along with one out next year, telling the story of the character Gollum. Colbert has gained a reputation as a knowledgeable fan of the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. He's set to help adapt part of the first Lord of the Rings book that did not make it into 2001's Fellowship of the Ring movie, along with that movie's screenwriter and his son.
Coming up, turning to technology to fix potholes. We'll have more on a new machine being used in Ottawa to repair its roadways. You know what he's... Potholes are a problem across the province following the many freeze-thaw cycles this winter.
There have been so many, and now Ottawa has turned to some new technology to help patch up its roadways. CTV's Tyler Fleming has a look.
Come spring, there's a pesky problem that always pops up. It's actually more of a dip in the road, potholes, and no one likes them.
Nobody.
Some are avoidable.
Just keep your eyes on the road.
Others not so much.
I've probably been through a few potholes with my bad car because the muffler is now loose.
There are some notorious bad roads.
Like parts of Bank Street. After a winter which saw dozens of freeze-thaw cycles, ice and water heaves and loosens pavement. That's how the hole is made. And this is how some are fixed. Taking a bite out of bad roads, the Python 5000 slithering down streets, hunting potholes for a seriously rapid patch.
They're typically filling hundreds of potholes in a shift.
Instead of buying, the city says it's renting 2 units, steering clear of the high maintenance cost. While dozens of crews are out continuing to fill potholes the traditional way, the self-contained Python 5000 works best at tackling busy roads.
It allows us to really focus on specific areas, really our problem spots where we want to limit our staff that are out working on the roads. With that one-person operation, they do not have to get out of the vehicle, so it's much safer working through intersections on higher speed roadways where the risk is higher for staff working on the road.
Each year, the city fills around 200,000 potholes. So far this winter, over 57,000. Residents can help the city find those potholes too by reporting them online.
Over
12 tons of asphalt's been dumped in 3 days already. So we need your help. Tell us where the potholes are. Let's get them filled up.
The Pythons and plenty of crews will be out all season picking off potholes one by one, helping to make for a smoother ride.
The city is always working hard, so I'm not one to blame. It's the situation in Ottawa, right?
Tyler Fleming, CTV News.
And in Toronto, I can't help but think we've got pesky weather for potholes right now because it's nice and mild, and then boom, tonight we're into minus territory, double-digit minus.
Yes, a plummeting temperature for tonight. So yes, potholes likely to still be an ongoing issue here in our city right through the month of April. Let's take one more look at the satellite and radar. Right now we're getting some rain. We'll widen things out so you can see it's likely showers in many areas with some steadier rain still to come. Here's a look at the evening. So this isn't so bad. The temperature slowly starting to fall. It's overnight and into tomorrow morning, where the temperature will be well below freezing. Tomorrow, we're going to fight to make it to a daytime high of +2, but many communities are going to remain close to freezing. 7-day forecast looks like this. Saturday is also below seasonal. We should have some sunshine along with a few flurries. Bit more cloud cover on Sunday, but that's more like it. Daytime high of 10 degrees and 13 as we make our way into the day on Monday with sunny skies. So there's one day where we get both the warmth and the sun.
All right, we'll take it. Thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.